Hey, Facebook Live. Hey, honey, it's Val, and you are in Valtopia. And I'm coming on live because earlier today, when I was riding my bike, I had a memory of something and I wanted to share it. I thought, oh, I'll share that later. And then um, I, I thank you for joining. I'm just going to live stream and let this flow through me. So I was riding my bike back from the beach and I remembered something and I thought, I've got to share this later today. And then right now I'm talking to a friend who's going through a really real difficult situation, and we've been on this dream journey together. And so I want to tell a story and a perspective that came through for me earlier today, and then let that paint the story because I was really guided to this. And I'm just going to tell the story and I'll look at the comments and acknowledge you guys later. So what I remembered on the bike today was that in what year was it? The year that Narnia was in creation, in production. I'd been working in production as a film artist, and I had a studio in Hollywood, a studio apartment, and I would drive all the way across town and work at a production studio called Rhythm and Hues. And I worked on Scooby-Doo 2 as an effects artist, and at the end of the spring, everybody got laid off. And instead of freaking out that I was getting laid off, I knew I was coming back to work in a few months. And I thought, well, let me take the resources that I have right now from working, that I'd been working, and let me find a studio art gallery. I'd like a studio art gallery right here by the beach. Wouldn't that be amazing? And I went and I found one. I found a studio art gallery by my favorite beach in Venice Beach. And it was actually several galleries in a complex, in an architectural complex, where every month they had art shows. So it was like I'd been given everything that my heart's desired. And I cheekily invested in renting this studio for 3 months. Or maybe it was month to month. So I was renting a studio in Hollywood and the studio art space here on the west side that was blocks from the beach while I waited to come back to my film job. And so during the time, the first 3 weeks of the experience, I allowed myself to just paint. And it was glorious. It was beautiful. And I was in a bad state at that time. I was pretty depressed. I'd been working a lot of hours. When I say a lot of hours, I mean like 100-hour weeks, which means that you work 7 days a week, every day after day after day in the dark on a chair on a computer. And so I was kind of overweight at the time, and I had some grungy clothes, and I just worked at the studio, and I would sleep on the floor in the studio because I didn't want to drive back and forth to Hollywood. And I would just paint for a few hours, and then I would go to the beach, and then I'd come back and paint and go back, and I just painted. And by the end of the 3 weeks, I could just paint anything I desired. It was a beautiful, beautiful feeling. Then I started trying to put my art on the monthly shows. And what happened is I started trying to show up and sell my art. And people started telling me what I needed to do and how I needed to do it. And I spent less and less time painting and more time trying to put together a show and sell my artwork and be presentable at these art shows. And I got more depressed and more neurotic and more worked up, and I painted less and less. And by the end, after the 3 months, then suddenly they delayed production on this movie I was supposed to work on. And the guy that I was seeing at the time we provoked each other when we'd been drinking some tequila, and I punched it was a crazy summer, crazy stuff going on. And at the end of the summer, I was more depressed than ever, freaked out because I wasn't sure when I was coming back to work. I had this kind of domestic violence experience that really traumatized me. And now I had spent all this money, and, I felt like I had lost, like that was it. I felt like that was my chance. But what I was thinking about today when I was riding my bike And what I've come to the conclusion over these years, and I feel absolute about this, was what a fucking amazing opportunity. And honestly, I did sell artwork. I did sell some artwork, and I even made commission and made more money. And this, I ended up doing couple commission paintings for this art collector in San Pedro. And I had a beautiful party, and I got exposed to a bunch of people, and I have the most gorgeous paintings. So really, even though my really hurt and broken person at that time, that was so desperate because I didn't know what I was going to be coming into down the line, and I didn't know how things would shift, and I didn't trust that everything was going to be okay, because in the moment, it did not feel like everything was going to be okay. It felt like everything was horrible. And all I did was beat myself up. And then like even my family got upset with me because I was upset with me, and financially it looked really bad. And if I gave up on myself and thought it was shit, well then so of course everybody else is going to too. But the truth of the matter is, not only did I have a dream of a lifetime to even have a studio space and to even get to paint for 3 weeks straight in a row in my lifetime, fuck yeah. And then to have the artwork that came from that, and to have actually sold artwork, and to have met all the people, and to have had this whole experience. And then the artwork that I created ended up being part of the published coloring book that I have now. That was a best-selling published coloring book. Over 10 years later, some of the artwork that was created in that time ended up being foundational to my company that I run now, Valtopia, where I urge myself and others who have a creative visionary dream to stay with it and to pursue it. And so the message today is, you know, in the moment when I was tired and broken down and hurt, I thought everything was over. And I thought that that was it. I was done. And really, I didn't even focus on the gratitude of all the opportunity I'd been given and how much amazingness actually had come through. It was all about my perspective. It was all about my perspective. And I chose to feel run down and beat myself up even more, and then spiral down away from what was really an aligned, beautiful moment of experience in my life. And now I choose to really recognize and be so grateful for how much I was given in that moment. And had I been able to nourish and replenish myself in that moment, and really like stay in the energy of this vortex of amazingness I had allowed to come into my life, that sounds like a coincidence, like a right place at the right time. It was actually like I was finally kind of aligning with the energy of what my soul was asking me to do. And so I had some setbacks, and it was scary at the time, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work out. I can always stay in a more expansive view and take care of business, you know, and get, you know, I had to give up the gallery and had to get another job, and I paid off my debts, and everything worked out. And then I got to come back to my art years later, and I probably would have come back to my art much sooner had I felt more connection and trust in my vision. Does that mean that I go homeless to stay in the dream? No, I still choose things that help me stay funding my dream. But I don't say, oh, my dream is over now because I can't do it right this minute and I got to pay my rent. So I'm a has-been and I might as well roll over and die, right? Who feels me on this whole message? Who's still with me? Tell me what you think about all this. Having a supportive community, that's right. Yeah, back then. Hey, Christina. Okay, I'll message you. Yeah, Marlena, thank you. Yeah, at the time I didn't know all of the stuff that I know now, and I didn't have such a powerful community supporting me that way, and I didn't realize how powerful acknowledging what you do have, how powerfully it can keep you accelerated in what you are doing. And sometimes I think what happens to us is we get stuck on that very thing that we got. Like I got stuck on the idea of being a gallery artist, and that's like, I'm so much more than that. And you guys know that now, but I'm like 15 or 10 years out and had all this other stuff happen. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to have my stuff in a gallery, but what I do now is so much more of me and like so much more fulfilling. And I can paint, and I don't need to have that. It's totally separate, right? My joy of expressing my art and living that dream, and this bigger dream that I'm allowing. So you have to allow that maybe you're boxing yourself in, even though your box might seem way bigger than the one you let yourself allow in the beginning. Guess what? It might be even like more expansive, and that was just one building block, and you have some more things you're going to experience and live, and then they're going to come together a little bit later into something else. Does that resonate for you? So, hey, Charlotte, you're going through this now, Marlena, and Christina feels you 100%. It's a matter of perspective, yeah. And that is what I was thinking on my bike when I was riding back. I was like, wow, my perspective was so skewed at that point that I really hurt myself and damaged my chances of coming back into that which was so pleasing and joyful to me. So allowing yourself to shift your perspective, bigger picture than where you might be in the disaster right now, will allow you to breathe into the moment, get your grounded bearings, and allow your creative mind to come up with whatever solutions that are going to need to come through. And it's okay to choose what you need to uplift and resource yourself to keep coming back towards the dream, but don't just shut it off and think it's over, right? Let me know what you think about this message, and I just wanted to come on and share that. Join us at Valtopia. I did a really fun free session today, and it's a good one. So thank you, Charlotte, Marlena, Christina Lee, everybody that joined. Great to see you. Jacqueline, Ida. Take care.